Hello everybody and welcome back to Crypto My God. We have a big announcement in the world of gaming today and I'm just gonna hop right into that. Let's go Gunzilla. Now before we start, I will disclaim I am an early investor in the off-the-grid GUNZ token ecosystem. I did this through the Republic Crypto Venture Fund, where we've actually worked very closely with this team for the past 2 to 3 years, I would say, a lot on the blockchain construction and the token and everything that happens in the back end. So I just want you to know I'm not trying to pitch you this token, but I think the game is really cool. I think the idea is really cool. And I want to give you an overview about one of the largest Web3 gaming launches, especially one of the only ones around a AAA title that's on systems, and kind of how they're approaching blockchain adoption and video games as most people know them, the console-based mega productions that we see all the time. Now, the game in question is called Off the Grid by a new studio called Gunzilla. The concept is a battle royale style game where all of your arms and limbs have special abilities. They're cybernetic, as well as the guns, the skins, the hats, the clothes. They all function as things that you can both earn inside the game and can mint as NFTs. The whole concept of their blockchain play is to basically replace the Steam storm. So now inside of the game itself, when you're buying and selling the skins or the weapons or the cyber limbs that you've earned, you can actually earn the gun token as a mechanism for that. So when you play, you have the opportunity to earn the gun token. When you buy and sell in the marketplace, you utilize the gun token. For any action taken really on chain, you use the gun token as gas. And this is a very interesting approach to say, hey, can we keep that marketplace kind of captured inside of the Gunzilla ecosystem? They do want to expand beyond off the grid, and they want to use the gun token to, again, effectively create their own unique marketplace, much like what Steam does, but without having to pay that gatekeeper. That's the quirk. And the blockchain element doesn't really impact the video game. This is not like Forgotten Runes, where you're a character loaded from an NFT. This is really a full-fleshed game that said, hey, we can take the blockchain rails, the mechanics, and we can use it to create our own format of buying and selling skins. Now, the game opens up in a pretty standard character menu. Here we have my guy with the crazy beard and a lot of colors that probably aren't the best choice for a real battleground. But we can see a couple really important points. Now, again, all of the crypto elements really come down to the items here. So I'm going to hop over to the marketplace, a little bit jumpy, but we can see that if I want to hop in and begin to explore some of the things, we've got everything from scopes to cyber limbs to weapons to skins, right? And hopping in here under the assault rifle options, you can just kind of navigate. And these are weapons that are for sale in the marketplace. And here we have the epic colorful partisan rave runner, right? We got a quick buy for $399 gun with 25 plus offers. So you can see that this is already a lot like a marketplace that you might understand. For crypto people, it reads very NFT. For PUBG players, I mean, this is just like standard skin stuff. So that's pretty fun. And we can see if we want to dive in, you get to look at the gun before you buy it and get into some of the depths around. So we hop around more, we can just kind of check it out again. Quick buy, 1100 gun token, and you can see how the mechanics begin to unfold here, right? A lot of the items that you put in your time and energy to get in the game can now be sold for real cash, and that's pretty cool. We also have very eclectic outfits. Like they started with Ninja. They're doing a lot of very interesting partnerships with major gamers. I'll be honest, I'm not part of the esports world, so it's pretty interesting to me to see how they co-partner. Again, we also have Kamala Harris living forever here in the off-the-grid ecosystem through a skin that was launched during the elections. And of course, we have POTUS himself, El Trumpo. So they do take a lot of opportunity to have some fun with this kind of stuff, and they continue to release new skins that are both oriented towards whatever is going on. Now, one of the most important elements in Off the Grid is this concept of cyber limbs, which is that every arm, every leg has a capability in and of itself. So we can see here a lot of the optionalities around the weapons that you can fire through your right arm, through your left arm, and of course, a couple of the things that go on with the various legs. And these are really important to the gameplay, obviously, because they impact how your character performs in the battle arena itself. So a very fun system that, again, eliminates any need for a steam storm or any sort of walled garden that would actually take a fee on the product that Off the Grid has constructed here themselves. Now, one of the fun things, you can kind of open up offers and you can begin to see the blockchain come through a little bit. If you know what you're looking for, you can see the blockchain, but if you don't, you can't. And I think that's a really interesting approach to abstracting away the onerous natures of the blockchain, right? Like there is no self-custody here. The game really controls your wallet. You can open your own wallet and again, take that control back. But if you're just a gamer, if you don't care as much, well, then a lot of it's going to happen just what feels natively. Now, when you do go through buy, you will see a transaction happen. There are confirmation times and a lot of the blockchain really screams out there, but it is kind of fun just to see the market begin to develop. Now here I've got my own personal inventory, so you can see these are things that I have collected through unpacking hexes. And if I want to sell something like this Dutch beard, let's just say, hey, I want to generate some revenue on this, you can get the price dynamics, you can see the sale price, the duration that you want to do it. It's all pretty straightforward. And again, this all happens on chain. So that's pretty far out and pretty cool. And I think one of the interesting things is we can see the transaction history. So you can see that I actually sold the kinetic shield for 3 gun with a fee of 0.16 gun. Again, the gas fee that they are taking as part of the fee capture for the actual business itself. This is how they're looking to generate revenue in this AAA, highly expensive game to produce, right? This is how they're going to grow the environment, stay very competitive, is to take some fees on all of the marketplace activities. So their users get to capture value by earning it in-game and selling it, while the company themselves gets to harvest some of the fees. Now, I bought a lot of items because, well, honestly, the early gun earned it in-game, they said you might not even retain it. So I just went on a buying spree because it seemed all very beta to me. But it is fun to see that somebody actually did buy something off me. And this is real on-chain transactions. You can open up a blockchain explorer and you can see the transfers of all of these NFTs. So that's really the crux of it, and it's pretty fun. Let's just take a little look at the game quickly so you can see kind of what the effect is like. Again, this game is free to play. Their goal is to get you into the game ecosystem. And again, that revenue source that they're pulling off of is going to be from fees generated from the marketplace. So you come with this very epic drop-in to Teardrop Island. Everybody's got these amazing jetpacks, so you do have a lot of aerial maneuverability, and we land and begin to immediately go in and collect. Now, when you get things in games, like I'm immediately grabbing these legs, these are not actually ownership items, right? I am just using this for the moment. In order to get NFTs, one of the sub goals here, aside from being the last team standing on this off the grid thing, is to capture those collectibles that you can resell on the market. So here I'm just using one of the leg opportunities called a thumper, which is basically a mortar that I can send across the battlefield. And now I'm going to go off to looking for what is called a hex. I came in for a kill. I grabbed a hex off somebody, and here's me depositing it. And of course, this is something that you have to defend. So this is how you earn those collectibles, those NFTs that you can sell again. Now, one of the components that I contributed to, and we had a lot of discussions around, was where do you actually place the gun token? And the Gunzilla team here turned to the Avalanche Subnets. Now, this is an interesting concept. So the Avalanche network is sort of a parallel to Ethereum. It runs on a virtual machine that can interoperate with ETH. However, it is its own project. It scales in a very different way, and they offer these unique sort of L2s that they call subnets. So rather than the Ethereum ecosystem where an L2 sits on top, a subnet is really a way to take advantage of Avalanche's existing infrastructure. That would be their validators and everything that contributes to the speed and the costs of the chain. They recognize that people want their own token. As people begin to build their own blockchains, you see increasingly new chains popping up with their own token. I think this is something very familiar. It's not a foreign idea. But what if you could create your own token without having to build everything in an L1, right? The consensus mechanism, the validator sets, like there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into an L1. Avalanche was sitting here and said, hey, we've already built a lot of that. What if you created a network that was totally interoperable with our network, that used our validator sets and the infrastructure that we've spent time and money building, but that you can create your own gas token, and anything that goes on inside that subnet, will also be interoperable with Avalanche, with the broader Ethereum ecosystem, with any other subnets that pop up. So you can think of this as getting way ahead of the Ethereum L2 situation, already having baked in interoperability, which is a big issue right now in Ethereum and their L2s, and say, hey, go ahead, launch a new network, use your own token for gas, you can control that gas fee, you can control the block speed, basically all of the levers of blockchains are variable, and they incentivize people to go and make very different subnets, because one subnet might be very fast for NFTs, another might be more oriented towards decentralized exchanges. This one is oriented towards really a DEX of their own assets in the Gun ecosystem. However, the more subnets that grow, the more interoperability and opportunity there might be to trade assets between these chains. So that is the core concept of an Avalanche subnet. Now, I found this really good Medium post on the Avalanche fundamentals, subnet architecture explained, and you can really see that they're looking for multi-chain systems that create one larger, more robust ecosystem. So it defines application level logic. Again, we're really thinking about apps here, right? What are people that are building apps going to want to use? And instead of breaking off and building your entire own app chain, why not build a subnet and just take advantage of so much infra that's already been constructed? And we can see kind of a graph here on the primary Avalanche network, kind of encompassing everything in these subnets, and just the way that the validators that operate the subnets have interoperability. So a subnet being defined here is a network with its own set of rules. Subnet of Avalanche validators can validate multiple blockchains. Each blockchain can define their own VM, so that's pretty interesting, their own execution environment. Subnets are independent, but subnets can communicate, and this is really important. So Avalanche hopes to grow this very big ecosystem of app chains that are all interoperable and have that communication built in. And of course, there's some interesting reasons to use one, right? Independence, you can avoid centralization, there's modularity, there's no competition for block space. So if subnet A gets really chunky and their block space is consumed, it doesn't impact other subnets. There could be a subnet just for offloading some of that from one subnet to another. So these are pretty interesting. We can already see some interop partners taking shape, and Gunzilla went and chose to use this as the foundation for their Gun token. What's bringing us sort of up to speed now is that Gun was recently listed on the Binance launch pool. I don't think we've seen too many launch pool tokens recently. As you know, I'm not the hugest fan of centralized exchanges, but if you are going to list on one, Binance is the creme de la creme. It is the king of the castle here. So seeing this on a launch pool is pretty interesting, and I think the entire industry at large really used this because you now have a AAA video game with a real use case, with real actionability and competitiveness, and we're seeing what does it look like, how does it perform inside the market. Now, launch pool, to be fair, is not the secondaries market trading on the value of the asset. It's a very speculative play. These are people trying to get into a pre-sale, and the assumption is that they're probably going to dump this token, right? Their hopes is that they can buy it cheap, dump it more for something more, and just move on with their lives. However, we had over 15.8 billion USD staked. That's the highest total in the last 9 months, with well over 1.5 million participants. I mean, that's pretty cool. So we're seeing the peak engagement in the last 7 months with the highest total in the last 9 months. So even taking the bull market into effect, this has been the biggest thing going on in Binance launch pool in a very long time. And that's pretty exciting just to see, right? We now have a litmus test as to what's going on. And the performance is doing okay. I mean, the market overall sucks, but we'll see how this really impacts when the game gears up and when the game goes for a full launch. I will say I do believe that the Gun token release is going to go hand in hand with the broader launch. Right now, we're only on the beta of the game. If you want to dive deeper, Piers Kicks from Delphi Digital, who's also an investor and a very big player. He's been in the professional competitions for the game, but he put out a pretty awesome piece on called The Case for Guns. So that's just a deeper read if you want something more there. I like Piers. I like everybody from Delphi, so I will be happily show their content and send you in that direction. So it's a really cool approach, and will it work well for Avalanche? TBD, but I think it's an exciting application. And of course, we are now seeing the first AAA game with over 60 hours of narrative. That has not even come out yet, but it is directed by Neil Blomkamp, a famous Hollywood director who has done a ton of work in this dystopian sort of robo-cyber future. So all of it comes together to have really interesting opportunity. We're finally seeing the launch. I think we're looking at the asset as a health metric for the broader industry at large, but also this is a flagship release in Web3 gaming. And they are using an interesting take, right? It's not the entire game on chain where your character grows, but they are using blockchain tech to facilitate the financial rails of the marketplace. Again, using the tech for what it's really good for while keeping the player and the user completely abstracted away from the friction parts. I'm really excited for it. Obviously, I've been working with this team for a long time. I play Gunzilla frequently. I suck at it. Like, if I get one kill, I'm pretty pumped. But I love the collectability. I love the experimentation. And I can't wait to get into that storyline. That's really where I shine. So for the moment, we're going to see a lot of efforts going into scaling the competitive environment, to adding a lot of content with real major streamers, and let's see where Gunzilla off the grid and the gun token take us. As always, best of luck out there, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.